If you want to use Audacity for your next audio project, this tutorial is for you. An audio project can be anything like audiobook narration, professional voiceovers, podcasts, or content creation, basically any project where you want to record your voice and get high-quality sound. Over the past 5 years, I've helped many beginners publish their first audiobooks and land their first voiceover jobs. I've also helped experienced voice artists book more gigs. In this tutorial, I'll show you exactly what I teach them when they're starting out. Even though the goal is to get professional quality audio with Audacity, I'll keep everything simple and beginner-friendly. You'll be able to follow along easily and apply what I teach. Just remember, practice is key. Make sure to try out everything you learn in the video. Before you dive into any audio project, there are 4 key things you need to get right. How do you record your voice properly with Audacity? Proper recording configuration is essential for good quality audio. How to edit that recording? Editing means navigating through the recording to identify mistakes. Depending on the situation, you can either remove some mistakes or record again. Proper editing skills give you the confidence to produce high-quality audio. How to process a recording for better sound? Editing and processing are separate things. No matter how good your recording equipment is, you will always need to process the recording with some audio effects for great quality audio. We will learn that in this video. Lastly, we will learn how to obtain an audio file from that recording. You will need an audio file for different projects or platforms. Audio files are MP3 or WAV files. By default, Audacity will not provide you such a file. We will learn how to export such an audio file from Audacity. I am using Audacity 3.7.3 for this tutorial series. If you are using Audacity 3.6 or a later version, you will be able to follow this tutorial easily. However, if you're using Audacity 3.5.1 or older, the description includes a link to another video. Let's get started with how to record. There are various reasons you might need to record your voice, and I've listed some common purposes. This tutorial will guide you through the process no matter your goal. Recording in Audacity is quite simple. Press the red record button, and the recording begins. As I click the record button, you'll see the waveform of the audio being captured. This waveform represents your recording, and later, you'll edit and process it. In essence, audio editing revolves around modifying and enhancing this waveform. However, simply pressing the record button isn't enough to ensure a good recording. Before recording, it's important to check that all your settings are properly configured. If you don't set up the options correctly, the recording quality will suffer. If you take away just one thing from this tutorial, let it be this: there is no substitute for a good quality recording. Achieving the best possible recording quality in your setup is crucial because the final audio's quality is directly tied to the recording itself. A high-quality recording not only results in better final audio but also makes the editing process much easier. If you're new to this, remember, a good recording equals good final audio. On the flip side, a poor recording will lead to poor final audio, no matter how much processing you apply or how expensive your software is. So, what settings should you configure to ensure a proper recording? There are several, and you'll see them listed on the screen. While it may look like a lot, don't worry, we'll go through each step by step. I'll dismiss this current recording since it wasn't set up with the ideal configuration. The first thing we'll do is select the microphone for recording. To begin, click on the Audio Setup button to access configuration options. Here, you can set up your recording device, which shows all the microphones connected to your computer. You may notice some unfamiliar names on the list. These are virtual microphones from other software on your computer. What matters is that your desired microphone appears on the list and is selected. The currently selected microphone will have a checkmark beside it. In this example, the MacBook Pro microphone is selected. If I were to record now, the MacBook Pro microphone would be used. To select a different microphone, just click on its name. For instance, if I want to use my Samson C01U mic, I would click on its name, and it would become the selected device for recording. You can confirm that the Samson mic is now selected because the checkmark will appear next to it in the recording device list. It's important to know what name your microphone appears under, as different models may display different names. For example, my Samson USB mic is labeled as Samson C01U Pro mic. However, I also have a Sennheiser mic connected to my computer, but its name isn't showing up. This issue can happen if you plug in the microphone after Audacity is already open. If this happens to you, there's a simple fix. You'll see an option labeled Rescan Audio Devices. By clicking Rescan, Audacity will refresh the list of connected microphones. After rescanning, I'll check the Audio Setup button again to see if my devices have updated. Now, you can see a new device called Scarlett 2i2 USB has appeared. Scarlett is my audio interface, and my Sennheiser microphone is connected through it. The device shows the name of the interface, not the microphone itself. By selecting Scarlett 2i2 USB, I'll be using my Sennheiser mic for recording. I'll click on Scarlett 2i2 USB to select it for recording, and I can verify it's selected by checking the Audio Setup button. Keep in mind, when the microphone is connected to an audio interface, the audio interface name will be shown in the list instead of microphone name. If you're a beginner, I recommend using the device toolbar to double-check which microphone is selected. There's a good reason for this, and I'll explain it shortly. To access the device toolbar, go to View Toolbars. The toolbars currently displayed will have checkmarks next to them. Since the device toolbar doesn't have a checkmark, it's not visible right now. I'll click on it to make it appear. Now that the device toolbar is visible, you can always check which microphone is currently selected for recording. The device toolbar is one of the most useful toolbars in Audacity, but it's not shown by default. To prevent using the wrong microphone for recording, always enable it from the menu. This way, you can easily see which microphone you're using during your recording session. It's easy to forget to select the correct microphone. I've seen many clients make this mistake. Imagine finishing a long recording, only to find out you used the wrong mic. That's why I always recommend showing the device toolbar to avoid this frustration. If you're aiming to build long-term skills in audio recording and editing, consider joining my mailing list. I regularly share audio tutorials through the mailing list that will help you gain a deeper understanding of the audio editing process. You'll find a link to subscribe in the description. For those who want to master Audacity for professional voiceover work or audiobook narration, I offer a comprehensive Audacity bundle. If improving the quality of your voice recordings is your goal, this bundle is an ideal solution. The Audacity bundle includes several courses and sound better tools. The courses cover both older versions of Audacity and the latest 3.6 and 3.7 releases. In fact, I provide separate courses for different versions, all accessible through the bundle. The bundle also includes one-click macros designed to enhance your voice quickly and efficiently, saving you valuable time. You'll find the link to the bundle in the description, where you can explore all the details. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out via email, which is also listed in the description. Many people have successfully produced audiobooks and landed voiceover jobs after completing the courses in the bundle. I highly recommend checking it out. The proper microphone is now selected for recording, but don't press the record button yet. You have to choose the correct recording channel. In the device toolbar, the drop-down next to the microphone is where you select the recording channel. You can see two options, mono and stereo. If you're using a USB microphone, you might only see the mono option. If you're using an audio mixer, you might see more than two channels. Make sure to select the mono channel. For me, the mono channel is selected as the checkmark appears next to it. I'm showing this setting in the device toolbar, but you can also find it in the Audio Setup button. In Audacity, the same action can be performed from multiple places. You can set it from any of them. For voiceovers, mono works perfectly. For music recording, you might want to select stereo. A stereo channel lets you apply different effects to the left and right sides of your headphones. However, this isn't needed for voice recording. Mono keeps things simple. If you choose stereo, you may need to configure it properly. Otherwise, the sound might only come through one side of your headphones. To avoid these issues, stick to mono. It's easier to use, and there is no effect on the recording quality whether you choose mono or stereo. Now that we've selected both the microphone and recording channel, it's time to check the audio settings. While the default settings are generally okay, they do need some attention to make sure your recording sounds its best. Check the audio settings to ensure the sample rate and sample format are correct. The sample rate should be 44.1 kHz, and the sample format should be 32-bit float. That is also the default settings in Audacity, and if you have the same settings, you don't need to do anything here. If the values are different, change them to 44.1 kHz and 32-bit float. This will give you the best recording quality. You don't have to set the audio settings every time you record. Once you set it, the settings will stay that way unless you change it. We will now see how to set the playback device. The playback device is not important during recording, unless you enable live monitoring. In the device toolbar, it is the last drop-down with the speaker icon. When you play your audio after recording, you will hear your audio through this device. You can also set this using the Audio Setup button. In the Audio Setup button, there is an option to select a playback device. If you are using live monitoring, you will listen through this device during recording. I do not usually use live monitoring, so it is not strictly necessary for me to set it before recording. I could set it before I listen to the audio. However, if you use live monitoring or multi-track listening, it is important to set it correctly. For live monitoring, you have to enable it. Go to the Transport menu, and you will see Transport options. There is an option to enable audible input monitoring. There is no tick mark before it, which means it is not enabled for me. I do not use live monitoring, so I haven't enabled this. If you want live monitoring, you have to click Enable Audible Input Monitoring. We are now ready for the recording. However, there is another thing you need to be aware of during recording: the recording level or the input level. Beginners often do it wrong, and it has a big impact on the final audio processing. To assist you in setting the level, Audacity has two meters. The top one is the recording meter, and the bottom one is the playback meter. You can drag the meters to make them bigger, and reposition them if you want. A bigger meter makes it easier to read the levels. You can see the meter reading during recording and playback. Before you start recording, it is good to check the level. There is also a slider in the meter to adjust the gain from Audacity. If your level is too high, you can decrease the slider to adjust the level. I usually keep the slider to 100% and adjust the gain from the audio interface. Some microphone also has a gain knob. If you double-click the slider icon, a pop-up will appear with a more visible slider. So the main question is, what is the correct level we should aim for? To check the input level before you start recording, click on the small microphone icon. Click Enable Silent Monitoring. When you enable silent monitoring, you can see the current input level in the meter. Talk to the microphone the way you will talk in the recording. Observe the meter and avoid entering the red zone. If you cross -3 dB in the meter, you will be in the red zone. So, what is the problem in the red zone? If you record in the red zone, the audio may become clipped or distorted. Distorted audio never sounds good, and there is almost nothing you can do to fix it or make it sound normal. You should aim not to cross -6 dB during recording. You should also check if the recording level is not too low. For example, if your audio never crosses -24, then it has a very low recording level. Your first priority would be to talk from a proper distance to the microphone. If you record from proper distance to the microphone, you will most likely get the best recording, even if your recording level is not optimal. But if you can make sure the levels are okay, there will be less headache after processing. Please note you do not have to be very precise about these numbers. These are more of a guideline to achieve a good signal level that is not too hot. A hot signal means when you are hitting the red zone in the meter. You can stop monitoring by clicking Disable Silent Monitoring. Once you've set everything up, press Record and start your session.
Welcome to this step-by-step Audacity tutorial for beginners. I am using Audacity 3.6.4 for this tutorial series. It was the latest version when this video was made. Please note that this is a very detailed tutorial to get you started with Audacity smoothly. You are watching the first part of this video on how to get started with voice recording.
After recording, the first thing you should do is save your project. This ensures that if Audacity crashes or your computer shuts down, your work is safe. Saving creates an AUP3 file, which is unique to Audacity and can only be opened within the software. It's different from exporting audio files, which you'll need to do if you want to send the audio somewhere or use it on another platform. To save your project, go to File a Save Project. You'll be prompted to choose a location on your computer. Audacity also has a cloud save option, but for now, let's focus on saving locally. If you don't want to see this option every time, check the box to remember your choice. I'll click Save to Computer and select a location to save the project. The file will be an Audacity project with an .op3 extension. I'll choose a save location without going into the details of the selection process. Next, name your project and click Save. This will allow you to reopen the project later and resume work from your last save point. Note that the Audacity project is saved as an OP3 file, which can only be opened in Audacity. The project is saved, and you can see the project name here. I'll navigate to the location where I saved the Audacity file. You can see the Audacity project. Alongside the .op3 file, there are two additional supporting files. These are temporary files generated because the project is currently open in Audacity. If I close Audacity, these extra files will disappear. After closing Audacity, only the .op3 file remains. You can open the project by double-clicking the op3 file, which will restore the recording. To play the audio from any point on the timeline, click at the desired spot and press the spacebar, or use the play button.
Welcome to this step-by-step Audacity tutorial for beginners. I am using Audacity.
You might notice the audio sounds quieter than the current narration. This is where post-processing comes in. The next step is post-processing, which will help improve the sound quality. This will be covered in detail in the next part of the tutorial. So what do we need for a top-quality recording? Before recording, set the correct microphone. The device toolbar always shows the selected microphone, so I recommend enabling it. Set your recording channel to mono for voiceovers. Use a 44.1 kHz sample rate and 32-bit float sample format for the best recording quality. Monitor your recording level to stay within the ideal range and avoid distortion. Save your project immediately after recording to avoid data loss. If you're new to audio recording, keep in mind that simply recording your voice isn't enough to achieve high-quality audio. To get the best results from your recording, you need to both edit and process the audio. While these tasks are related, they are not the same. Audio processing involves applying effects to enhance or correct a recording, whereas editing focuses on modifying the structure of the audio by cutting, copying, or rearranging parts. There is no strict rule about whether to edit or process first, it depends on the situation. However, we will begin with editing because strong editing skills improve efficiency and build confidence. Good editing requires familiarity with your software. Once you understand how to navigate it, fixing mistakes becomes much easier. This confidence in editing will also improve your recording sessions, ultimately leading to better audio quality. After recording, you will have a track. At the moment, I only have a single track in my project. A track consists of multiple elements, and it is important to understand what you can do with it. At the beginning of the track, you will see the track control panel, which contains various buttons and sliders. We will go through their functions step by step. Before diving deeper, I want to mention something about the user interface. If your Audacity layout looks different from mine, it is likely due to the theme settings. I am using the classic theme, but Audacity offers multiple options. You can check or change your theme by opening Audacity Preferences and clicking on the Interface tab. The theme drop-down will show the available options. By default, Audacity may be set to the light theme, which gives the software a different appearance. I have been using Audacity since version 2, when there was only one interface, the classic theme. The light and dark themes were introduced more recently. Since I am used to the classic interface, I prefer to keep it that way, but the choice is yours. If you want your Audacity interface to match mine, you will need to switch to the classic theme. Now, let's take a closer look at what's inside the track. At the beginning of the track, you will see the track control panel, followed by the waveform inside the track. The shape of the waveform varies in different places, and its height indicates volume. Taller waveforms represent louder sounds, while shorter ones indicate quieter sections. The recording on my screen is relatively consistent, so the waveform does not have significant height variations. In areas where I did not speak, the waveform appears almost flat. Although these sections may seem insignificant, they serve important purposes in audio editing. In professional terms, these silent areas are called room tone, which plays a crucial role in audiobook narration. Maintaining a consistent room tone is essential for a professional voiceover. While we will not explore this topic in detail here, it is important to be aware of its significance. If you right-click inside the track control panel, a menu will appear with various options and information. However, most of these options are currently disabled because no audio has been selected. You will also find details about the track format and project rate, which we set earlier during the recording process. You can play the audio from any point within the track. Clicking inside the waveform places a black vertical line called the playhead, which marks the starting position for playback. When you press play, the audio will start from this point, and the playhead will move along the track as it plays. You can play the audio by clicking the play button or pressing the spacebar. To stop playback, press the spacebar again or click the stop icon. Another way to start playback from a specific point is to use the timeline, which is the numbered section above the track. The numbers represent time in seconds. If you scroll to the end of this recording, you will see that it is about 28 seconds long. Clicking anywhere on the timeline will position the playhead at that point, allowing you to start playback from there. This is a useful technique when editing and processing audio, as you will need to listen to different sections frequently. Basic editing actions such as copy, paste, and delete are essential when working with a waveform, and you will use them often. However, the way copy and paste behave depends on your Audacity settings, so it is important to be aware of those preferences as you work. One of the most common editing tasks is deleting a section of the waveform. To do this, simply select the part you want to remove by dragging over it, then press the delete key on your keyboard. You can also delete it through the edit menu, where you will find shortcuts for common actions. Using shortcuts speeds up the editing process, so it's worth getting familiar with them. Next, we'll learn about copying and pasting. While copy-paste is a basic action, Audacity has a unique setting that affects how it works. I'll explain that in a moment. To copy a section of the waveform, first, select the part you want to copy. You can do this using a keyboard shortcut, the Edit menu, or by right-clicking after making the selection. Once copied, click at the point in the waveform where you want to paste the audio. You can then paste it using the keyboard shortcut, the Edit menu, or by right-clicking and selecting Paste. If you prefer using shortcuts for various tasks, you can find a complete list in Audacity Preferences. Open Preferences, go to the Shortcuts tab, and you will see all assigned shortcuts. You can even search for a specific action to check its assigned shortcut or change it if needed. While some people rely on shortcuts heavily, others may not use them at all. It's entirely up to you. To paste audio using a shortcut, click where you want to insert the copied audio, then press Command+V on macOS or Control+V on Windows. The copied section will appear inside the track. However, Audacity's copy-paste behavior depends on certain preferences, and in some cases, it may not work as expected. Let's examine one such setting. In Audacity Preferences, go to Tracks Behavior. You will see an option labeled Always Paste Audio as New Clips. By default, this option is unchecked. If I enable it and save the settings, the copy-paste behavior changes. Now, when I paste the copied audio, a new clip is created. You will notice two black vertical lines marking the clip boundary. A clip can be moved independently by dragging it. It can also be selected separately and trimmed at its boundaries. While trimming or untrimming clips may not be necessary for regular voiceover work, this feature highlights Audacity's potential for more advanced editing. Audacity offers many advanced features, and understanding them will help you use the software more effectively. Now, I will go to Audacity Preferences to adjust another setting. This setting is found under Tracks Behavior and is labeled Editing a clip can move other clips. I will uncheck this option, which will completely change how copy-paste works. This can be frustrating for many users, so pay close attention to this setting. I will try pasting the audio into the first clip. As soon as I do, an error message appears. This happens because I disabled the option that allows other clips to move when editing. If you encounter this error in Audacity, you now know where to check. If you are creating new clips when copying and pasting, you must also enable the option to move other clips. Otherwise, you will run into the same error. Keep in mind that Audacity's default settings can change from version to version, so depending on which version you upgraded from, you may experience unexpected behavior. Knowing these preferences will help you avoid unnecessary troubleshooting. Now that I have adjusted the setting, pasting works correctly. You can see that I have no trouble pasting the audio now. Let's say I want to return to the state before these clips are added. The easiest way to do this is by undoing the last actions until I reach the point I want. You can undo your last action by going to the Edit menu and selecting Undo, or by using the keyboard shortcut. Each time you undo, Audacity reverses the most recent change. If you undo multiple times, you can step back through your previous actions. To do this quickly, use the shortcut Command-Z on macOS or Control-Z on Windows. Now, let's talk about zooming, an essential feature for precise editing. Sometimes, you need a closer look at the waveform for a more accurate selection. Other times, the waveform may be too condensed, making it difficult to see details. Audacity provides several zoom buttons for different actions. You can zoom in to expand the waveform as much as needed, and if you zoom in too much, you can zoom out using the button next to it. These zoom controls apply to the entire track. Additional zoom options with specific functions are available. To use some of these, you must first select part of the audio. For example, one button allows you to fit the entire waveform on the screen, which is useful when you want an overview of the full track. Another button lets you zoom in on a selected portion of the waveform for a closer look. To do this, select a section of the waveform and press the corresponding zoom button. I recommend experimenting with these zoom controls to understand how they work. While zooming isn't a complex feature, it is essential for precise editing. Knowing how to navigate the software efficiently will save you a lot of time and frustration. If you are constantly searching for small features, it can slow down your workflow and make editing more difficult. The more comfortable you are with these tools, the more confident you'll be in your editing process. Editing is a crucial part of voice-related work, whether you're narrating an audiobook, recording a voiceover, or producing a podcast. Another equally important step is audio processing, which can significantly enhance the quality of your sound. Let me demonstrate how proper processing can make a big difference. To do this, I will first duplicate the current track. To duplicate a track, double-click on it to select it, then go to the Edit menu and choose Duplicate. You can see an identical copy of the same track. I created this duplicate so we can compare the original recording with the processed version side by side. The top track will remain untouched, representing the original audio, while I will enhance the bottom track. Audio processing involves improving a voice recording through various effects and adjustments. This involves applying multiple audio effects in a specific order with the correct configurations to achieve the best results. In a moment, I will explain the necessary steps for proper processing. For now, I want to show a quick way to enhance your sound. While this method isn't exactly a shortcut, it produces results very quickly. I will apply a macro to process the recording in seconds. To do this, I will select the bottom track and go to the Tools menu. From there, I will apply a macro. Keep in mind that these macros are not available by default in Audacity. I have created several for different purposes, including Clear Vocal, ESS Reduction, Intelligent Improve, and Podcast Improve. In a moment, I will explain where you can get these macros. For this recording, I will use the Clear Vocal macro. I have two versions of this macro, one designed for older versions of Audacity, 3.5.1 and earlier, and another optimized for Audacity 3.6 and 3.7. Since I am using the latest version, I will apply Clear Vocal 3.6, and the processing will be applied automatically. Once the macro is applied, you will notice a significant change in the waveform patterns. Now, let's compare the original and processed recordings by listening to both.
Audacity is a free audio recording and editing software, and I recommend to use Audacity is a free audio recording and editing software, and I recommend to use Audacity as a early software. I recommend using Audacity as the first software if you are new to audio editing and recording.
You can hear that the processed version sounds much clearer and more polished. In the next part of this video, I will show you how to achieve this kind of processing manually, so you can customize it to your specific needs. If you prefer automatic processing using macros, you can get them from my Audacity bundle. This bundle includes my custom macros, a beginner and advanced course, and a personalized EQ tailored to your voice. You can find more details through the link in the pinned comment and description. So far, you've learned about recording and editing techniques. The next step is audio processing, and we will explore it in detail. Anyone can make their voice recording quite better using the free software Audacity. The method I will show is a must-follow guide for beginners. Advanced users also use it as a starting point. I will explain every step in detail. The steps are also available in this PDF guide with screenshots. You can get this PDF file in your email for free. Please check the last link in the description to get this Sound Better PDF guide. If your audio does not sound good after this process, it means either your recording setup needs to be corrected, or you need to record your audio properly. Before digging into the details of such issues, apply this method to your recording. You will get an amazing result if your recording has the quality, or you will know how much better your sound can be. The process to get a better voice in Audacity is a series of simple steps, and I will show the steps in detail in this video. Our goal is to get an amazing voice recording after all the processing. Let's discuss some qualities of an amazing voice recording. The volume level is ideal, it is not too low or not too high, so comfortably listenable. There is no noticeable white noise or hissing noise. AC units, laptop fans, or something vibrating nearby like a refrigerator can be the source of strong hissing noise. There is no disturbing background noise. Car honks, airplanes flying, other people talking in the background, etc. are examples of such background noise. All parts of the audio can be heard comfortably. There are no sudden changes in the volume level. If some words are loud and others are too quiet to listen to, it is not good for the listening experience. Those may be desirable in a movie, but for voiceover, it has to be consistent. Your voice sounds smooth or crisp or clear. If recording space is not well treated, or a proper microphone is not used, the sound quality can be harsh. There is no disturbing room echo or reverb. Poor positioning of the microphone or a room with hard surfaces can introduce unbearable echo or reverb. Some of these can be achieved by editing in Audacity, and some of them require fixing in the recording setup or environment. If you can process your recording as good as possible in Audacity, you will have a good idea of the other issues. A properly processed audio can reveal some serious issues in the recording that is not possible to know otherwise. I will show you how to fix things with Audacity. The steps I am going to show are applicable for audiobook narration, voiceover, podcasts, or any other purpose. The steps are involved with these 4 audio effects. I will show the proper configuration in each step and explain why you should do it. The order of these effects matters a lot, especially at the beginning of your audio editing journey. Each effect also has to be configured properly. Otherwise, the audio will become worse instead of being better. The correct order of the effects will be like this. So 4 effects have to be applied in 5 steps. The normalize effect has to be applied at the start and at the end. If you are a beginner, you should follow the order like this. Once you gain experience, you can rearrange the order after understanding what each effect does. We will now see the steps in detail to improve a raw recording. I will manually add all the necessary effects on the track. According to this order, normalize will be the first effect. Select everything inside the track and go to normalize effect. Normalize is the first effect to apply because the raw audio recording volume is generally low. Normalize can increase the loudness, which is better for editing. I will normalize to -3 dB peak. The -3 dB peak is standard on most of the audio platforms. Peak means the loudest audio point in your selection. I selected the whole track, so the peak will mean the loudest part of the entire waveform. The concept of the peak is important in audio editing. For example, if you want to submit your audio on some platform, they may have specific requirements on the peak level. I am setting the peak as -3, which is the standard value in ACX audiobooks. If you do not know about ACX audiobooks, do not worry. -3 dB is a standard value in many places, and we will follow that for now. The volume level increases as we see the waveform become taller. Normalize may not always increase the loudness level. The volume level will decrease if the audio already has a higher peak than we set in the normalize settings. That is not a problem, and we should not worry about that at this moment. After applying normalize, you can see the noise has become visible in the silent parts. The next effect will be noise reduction. Noise reduction is an optional effect. Whether you should apply the noise reduction depends on 2 things: if there is audible hissing noise and what the accepted noise floor of the platform you are submitting the audio is. For simplicity, I will discuss only the audible hissing noise in this video. Audible hissing noise means you can hear some hissing noise in the talking parts. If you can hear some hissing noise in the talking parts, the noise reduction effect will reduce some of that. I will need a noise sample from anywhere in the waveform. A noise sample of around half a second or more is good enough. I will select such a sample from the beginning and go to the noise reduction effect. I am selecting the noise sample from the beginning, but it can be selected from any place in the waveform. Noise reduction is a 2-step process. In step 1, you have to give Audacity a noise sample or profile. Based on it, Audacity will detect noise and remove that noise from audio. In other words, Audacity will consider other parts of the audio as noise when it finds a match with this sample. Click on the Get Noise Profile button. For step 2, you have to select a part of the audio from where you want to remove the noise. I want to remove noise from the whole track. I will select everything by double-clicking, and go to the noise reduction effect again. Please keep in mind that Audacity can only remove white background noise or hissing noise. Other types of noise like traffic noise or dog barking cannot be removed using Audacity. We will now perform step 2 of the noise reduction process. You have to select the noise reduction settings. These 3 sliders let you do that. For best noise reduction, all these sliders should be at 6. Best noise reduction means noise will be removed without altering the audio quality. Too much noise reduction can introduce harshness in the audio. The top slider is the noise reduction amount. It should be between 6 to 12. 6 dB reduction is better, but if the noise is too loud, you can go up to 12. Please remember, noise reduction makes the sound harsh. Too much noise reduction makes the listening experience poor. I will set it to 12 for demo purposes, but keep in mind that 6 is the best setting on all 3 sliders. Make sure the Reduce Radio button is selected. Click OK to apply the noise reduction settings. The audio is now noise reduced. If we check the beginning part, you will see less noise in the meter. The third effect I will apply is the EQ. I will show you a basic EQ, but keep in mind that EQ is a very vast topic. A good EQ can make a voice sound smooth and clear. I suggest you watch some EQ videos on my channel once you gain some experience in audio editing. You will find the filter curve EQ inside EQ and filters. There are different types of EQ effects, and I will use the filter curve EQ as it is flexible to use. EQ is the process of manipulating volume by frequencies. That means you can increase or decrease the volume of some frequencies. Increasing the volume of frequencies is called a boost, and decreasing the volume is called a cut. Audacity offers some EQ presets in factory presets. I will use a modified version of low roll-off for speech. It is rolling off from 100 Hz. If you know about the fundamental frequency of human voice, it generally starts from 80 Hz, but not below that. So I will adjust the roll-off from 80 Hz. It means I am cutting off frequencies below 80 Hz where no human voice frequency exists. Audio recording can have some noise in those low frequencies, and this cutoff will reduce that noise. A complex EQ will take too much time to explain at this point, so I will apply this basic EQ. After EQ, the next effect is very important. It is the compressor effect that reduces the dynamic range. Dynamic range means the volume gap of loud and quiet sounds of your voice. If the dynamic range is too big, some parts of the recording may become very difficult to hear. The recording I am working with has no such big difference. Still, applying the compressor effect will make the voice crunchy and crispy. A little bit of compression makes the recording smoother to listen to. Compressor configuration varies for each recording. I will show you a generic compressor with some guidelines. Please note that this is the new Audacity compressor introduced in Audacity 3.6. If you are using older Audacity, the compressor interface will be different. You also have to learn how to configure this new compressor. The configuration of the new compressor is totally different from the old compressor. I will get back to the default preset from the factory preset. You will notice now the factory preset has lots of presets. However, most of them are suited for music production. The compressor can be active or not active, based on the threshold value. You can see the graph has got a different slope from this point. This is the compressor activation point and the threshold decides this point. If I increase or decrease the threshold, you will notice the point will move around. Once you decide the activation point for the compressor by setting the threshold, you have to set how much compression do you want. That is set by the ratio. If I change the ratio, you will notice the slope of the line after the activation point changes. There are other configuration options in this compressor and all of them define how the compressor will work. At the beginning, it may be difficult to get everything right about the compressor. I would suggest using a factory preset as a starting point. From the factory preset, I will choose lead vocals. Please note that the actual compressor settings depend on the audio level and how the voiceover is performed. I am showing a generic solution. If you remember, I used Normalize as the first audio effect. My peak is normalized to -3 dB, hence the lead vocals will work okay for me. If you follow this tutorial step by step, lead vocals preset will work for you too. I would recommend decreasing the ratio a bit. If you need a little amount of compression, you can set the ratio below 3. I want a moderate amount of compression, and I will set the ratio around 4. The purpose of the compressor is to control the RMS level. However, I am skipping such details in this video as it will become quite lengthy. Instead, you start with this type of setting, and to learn more take a course, or watch dedicated videos about compressors. I will keep the other settings as it is and I will apply these compression settings. The compression is done, and I will apply Normalize again to adjust its peak level. Compression can alter the peak level than the standard -3 dB peak. Normalize to -3 dB will adjust the peak to the standard level. The editing is done, and let's listen to it.
Audacity is a free audio recording and editing software, and I recommend to use Audacity as a early software. I recommend using Audacity as the first software. If you are new to audio editing and recording, I recommend using Audacity. Though Audacity may not be stable as other paid audio editing software, but it is a good software to start with.
So this was the process of making raw audio better in Audacity. We will now see the process of getting an audio file from Audacity, which is also called exporting an audio file. Let's say you've finished recording your audio. You've edited it, cleaned it up, and added any effects you needed. Now you're ready to save it as an actual audio file that you can send to someone, or upload somewhere. This is called exporting your audio. Right now, the project you're working on inside Audacity isn't yet an audio file like an MP3 or WAV. It's just a project file that can only be opened by Audacity. To use your audio outside of Audacity, you need to export it into a format that other programs and devices can play. First, go to the top menu and click on File, then Export Audio. A configuration window will appear. A window will pop up asking where you want to save your file and what you want to name it. You can type in any name you like. It's a good idea to use something simple and clear so you can find it later. I will keep it as it is, but you can name it as you like. Below the file name box, you'll see a Browse button. Click this to choose the folder where you want to save your audio. I will click on it, and choose a location to save the audio file. I will choose a location inside my desktop. Please note that your audio file will be saved in the folder you choose. I will choose the sample recording. I will click Save. You can see that the folder is now set to sample recording. The next important thing is to choose the format. You'll usually choose between options like MP3 and WAV. MP3 is a compressed file, meaning it takes up less space and is easy to share. It's the most common format for music, podcasts, and audiobooks. If you want to upload the file somewhere, MP3 is the best option, and it is also required sometimes. However, it is better to use WAV while you are working with someone, and further processing will be done on the recording. If you are tossing the audio between several software programs on your computer, WAV is also recommended. Because WAV is uncompressed, it retains full audio quality. It's a larger file size, but better for high-quality editing or if you plan to move the file between different audio software. I will export it as an MP3 to show some options that are required on many websites. For example, if you are uploading an audiobook to a website, it has to be MP3 and has to meet specific guidelines. If you choose MP3, you'll also see options for sample rate, bit rate mode, and quality. The sample rate should be 44.1 kHz. You should record and export at 44.1 kHz to keep the process simple. The bit rate mode should be constant. If you check the guidelines from websites like ACX, you will see that a constant bit rate is required. For general use, 192 kbps is a good balance between quality and file size. If you go above 192, the file size will increase, and you will not notice any change in quality. I suggest using 192, and sometimes it is required on many websites. Once everything is set, your file name, location, format, and quality, click the Export button. Audacity will now process your audio and create the file. This may take a few seconds, depending on how long your recording is. Find your exported file. Go to the folder you selected earlier, like your desktop or your chosen folder. You'll see your new audio file there. It will be in the format you selected, MP3, WAV, etc. You can see my chosen MP3 file here. You can now play the file, share it, upload it, or do whatever you need with it. If you're working with audio that needs to be uploaded to platforms like Audible or Spotify, always check what file format and bit rate they require. Most audiobook platforms, for example, prefer MP3 files at 192 kbps. So far, you've learned how to record and process your audio to achieve high-quality sound. You've also gained confidence navigating Audacity. Great job. But that's just the beginning. There's still more to explore, especially if you want professional-level audio. To get there, you'll need to understand some advanced concepts. But before we dive into those, I highly recommend you practice what you've learned so far. Make sure you've got a solid grasp of the basics. If you're ready to take your audio editing, recording, and processing skills to the next level, I encourage you to check out the Audacity bundle. This bundle includes Audacity courses, step-by-step lessons that teach you everything you need to know for producing professional audio. Audacity macros, these tools speed up your workflow. With just one click, your audio can be processed quickly and efficiently. There are two types of macros included. Pre-built macros, I've already created these, and you can start using them right away. Custom macros, these are tailored specifically to your voice, including EQ settings designed to match your vocal tone. You'll find the Audacity bundle link in the description. Just scroll down the page, click Add to Cart, then head to the checkout page. Enter your email and payment details, and you'll get instant access to the pre-built macros. I'll also enroll you in the full course right after that. Check the link below, and see you on the next video.